Frank Klose does a great job. Sports Talk Philly, and of course 97.3 ESPN FM covering the Phils and baseball. Kind enough to join us for a couple moments. So, in spite of the fact that they lost last night 14-1 to the Braves, listen, they played good baseball over the last week. What has been the difference in this team in your eyes, Frank?
Well, I think getting Howie Kendrick back was a big boost. He can slot into that 3-hole in the lineup, and you're not kind of throwing anybody there and just hoping that he works. Now, they're getting professional at-bats from Howie Kendrick. They're getting leadership on the field from Howie Kendrick. And I think that's made a big difference in their lineup. And it doesn't hurt that all of a sudden Odubel Herrera remembered how to hit.
Yes, or as I like to tweet at you the other day in Spanish, that would be el doble. I knew you'd appreciate that one. All right, I have to ask because I talked about it a little bit yesterday. Listen, Schmidt's comments. I thought he made some valid points, but I think he probably could have worded it a little differently. I think it's a dead issue. I don't know how much more you can get into it. I'm just wondering, what's the sentiment among the Phillies on that? I don't know. Herrera said that Schmidt called him. He apologized. He moved on. I get what he's saying, right? Because then we saw the same instance the other day in the Boston and the Yankees game with Tanaka and the broadcaster Remy. There is a language barrier. There is, and I can tell you this, in interviewing a lot of players over the years, especially ones that don't speak English, it can get a little frustrating unless I'm speaking Spanish to them or they need a translator. So I get where both sides are coming from.
Well, think of it this way. If the Phillies currently, as they're made up, are 40% Spanish-speaking, then couldn't you say that about a quote-unquote American player, as Schmidt said? I mean, are you able to lead then those that do not speak English? So I think you could easily turn that around the other way. So I don't think there's one advantage over the other. Now, certainly a lot of great one thing I like about Pete Mackanin is that he is bilingual, so he has shown leadership in that way. And there's been a lot of great players over the years. Chris Croce made it a point of learning Spanish so that he could best communicate with his pitchers. So a lot of people have taken the initiative to work on that. And the fact that every clubhouse now in Major League Baseball has a translator handy, I think they're really trying to just make it more comfortable for one another. But one thing I really I like that Ricky Bottalico had to say is that, there's not a lot of words you're using in baseball anyway, and the language of baseball is small. So I don't think it's an issue so much like Schmidt was thinking that it would be. And certainly the clubhouse is a lot different than when he played.
Right. Yeah, you're right. He's, it's a little more old school from that regard. You look last night, prior to last night, they were able to score a couple runs. You start to see, as you mentioned, some players really starting to come around a little bit, and that's good to see. I still maintain eventually, look, they're 21-36. You like that they're showing a little bit of signs of life. With that being said, it just seems as though this is kind of who they are, right? They're probably going to win a couple games. They're probably going to get smacked around a little bit. Starting pitching is going to get whacked around a little bit here and there. But it's good to see right away if you start to see the Hernandez's, Tommy Joseph start swinging a little better. Herrera starts swinging a little better. Franco to me is still an issue, but I think this is kind of who they are, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I always kind of had them as like a 500 team-ish. Now, granted, they're much below 500. They're basically a 500 team that had an extra long losing streak along the way. They're talented enough that they can rip off some winning streaks, but at the same time they have enough holes that they can fall into several game losing streak at the same time. So you are going to see some good days. Now, I think it's kind of a tale of two teams. Now, last night's game, you got the Phillies bullpen that you don't want to put out there if you're winning,
right? And
they tend to collapse really bad. Whereas if you're on the winning side of things, you put your best relievers out and you can look pretty good. So once Eichhoff got pulled from the game and he only gave a 3 earned run, he wasn't terrible. You would have liked. Unfortunately, that one inning got away from them that began with that Maikel Franco misplay and then Howie Kendrick slipping. But looking at that game versus the games before that, you kind of threw it on the other side. Once Eichhoff was out, you had to go to your other end of the bullpen because of the circumstances. And let's face it, Mike Fultonevich is a really nice young pitcher. I think he's going to be somebody that the Phillies have they're going to struggle with for years. I really do think very highly of him with the young Braves pitcher. So So there's going to be games like that where he's going to shut them down. So then in turn, you just kind of go to your B guys in your bullpen, and you're going to get rocked a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned Eichhoff, and he only goes 5, and he gives up four hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, I should say, but through 68 pitches. And then conversely, the Braves and their starter, 94 pitches, 7 innings, 4 hit balls. So you're right. I mean, you see the contrast right there. Last one before I get you out of here. I know we've talked about Franco for so long, even since going into the season, as the season has progressed. Eventually they're going to have to make a decision on what to do with him. And the more I watch him, last night, granted, he was 1 for 3. He got the hit. I still look at the batting average, and I look at him the other day. He was 0 for 4. I looked at him the other night. Monday, he was 0 for 5 with a strikeout. I just think eventually they're going to say, look, either you're going to sit or we're going to got to send you down to the minors and you got to redevelop your swing. I mean, how much more of a rope do you give this kid?
What really troubles me in regards to Franco is not so much even his at-bats. It's just even his defense. He's just lost. Mentally, he just seems like he just can't find himself, which I think, the play yesterday, he's made other miscues in recent days. That's what troubles me as somebody that his head is not in the game the way it should be, and maybe a demotion would do him some good. I think they're hesitant to do that. I think that they're worried maybe that you send him down, it actually will hurt his psyche even more. I don't know. Maybe they have a better read on Maikel Franco than I do, but the defensive miscues, which are just not characteristic of Maikel Franco, that's what seems to trouble me more than him going 0 for 5 in a game.
Yeah, you're right, and we saw that defense too last year at times, and early on in the season they were playing very well, and you're right, sometimes that little error here and there kind of magnifies it, right? You carry over to the at-bats. So the Phils will try to regroup and get a win today against the Braves. Frank Klose joins us every week, as always, on a Thursday. I appreciate a couple moments, my friend. I will continue to tweet at you. I can do it in English. I can do it in Spanish. What would you prefer? I can do it in Spanglish. What's easier for you?
I can do both.
All right, sounds good, my friend. We will talk next week. I appreciate a couple moments, pal.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You got it. Frank Klose from 97.3 ESPN FM and, of course, Sports Talk Philly.